Hey, this is Matthew. Today I'm talking about my view on male development from the teenage years into the 20s, into the 30s, and everything I've learned around that. Now, this is not 100% perfect, I'm sure, and I'm sure lots of people have come up with other models as well. So if you've got a model that you prefer over this one, I'd love to hear it, and I'd love to hear your experience with that model as well. So here we go. And if you're interested in learning more from me, consider subscribing to this channel or to my email newsletters, which I send out every week. So let's get started. So as a teenager, as a young person, people are developing in themselves. They're trying to work out who they are in the world. Where do they stand? And if they do a rite of passage program, which is say what I did and what I facilitate programs in, then at the puberty years, they do a rite of passage, and on that, part of it will be that the adults, the people in the community, let the young person know what it is that they see in the young person. And it's an opportunity where the community supports this person to have a sense of identity in themselves that is based on others, people's feedback, what the community sees, what is perceived of this person. And this is really important for young people because it allows them to feel okay about themselves for who they are. Their strengths are honoured and they're important and they're valued as part of the community. And that being valued is what frees someone up to be able to start expressing themselves and starting to get to know themselves more as a teenager, as a young person. And this continues for a few more years, and then the people enter into the young adult phase. And this young adult phase is very different. It's around this person finding out for themselves who they are, and it has to come from inside them. And in certain places, say in Australia, if you live in a rural town and you move to a city, that can be a big rite of passage. You were this kind of person in your hometown and now you're part of the bigger city. You get to, in that process, redefine yourself, reclaim who you are as a person. But not everyone has that sort of physical journey, and it's an internal journey. And so they can't get it in that particular way. So what other opportunities are there to get it? Well, some people do it by trying to read lots of books or get involved with groups and that kind of thing, and that is really good. However, I do think there is a lot of value in a men's rite of passage. And what's the purpose of a men's rite of passage? The purpose of a men's rite of passage is to allow an adult, in this case a man, to claim for themselves and be seen as the person that they decide to be in the world. And this choice, this being myself and being able to make a choice for myself, is what is so important about the adult one. And I can tell people who have been through adult ones or had a adult-like experience because they have a sense of knowing who they are, and they're not so sort of on the winds of whatever is going on. They do have a sense of themselves. They know who they are. And many people never reach this step. They go through their entire 20s and 30s and they never quite really know themselves. They have ideas about it, but they never fully go that step of claiming and becoming this person that they decide to be. And a lot of people stay here at this step. They do that claiming process, they find out who they am, and then they become very strong in I am all these things that I say I am. And so as a teenager, they're given a narrative of their life, they're given a narrative of who they are, and as an adult they claim a new narrative or an updated narrative for themselves, and so you become the story of yourself. You become the story of your life, and you live in a way that is hopefully consistent and in a way that is full of integrity, so that you are what you say you are, and things are very consistent. And that's a great thing if you can get that. Now, this is where the next phase comes in. And the next phase is about becoming no one. And so what does that mean? That means that the next phase is about dropping the story altogether. And it's about letting go of any ideas of who you are and just being who you are without the story. Now, you can't jump from the teenage time to the letting go of self, because you don't have a self to let go of, and even if you tried to, you probably not be able to let it go because you don't have a sense of what it is yet. And I know, talking to some Zen teachers who have said, look, we would not, if someone is in that stage and they don't really know who they are yet, they probably advise them to go out into the world and find who they are more, and after they've kind of done some of that more journeying, then come back and start on the spiritual journey of becoming no one. And the becoming no one journey is this next piece. And what's this next piece about? This next piece is about realizing that we are no one, and that we are free of the stories that we create and put ourselves in. And that the stories that we put ourselves in, the narratives that we create for ourselves, are not a fixed thing that we have to cling on to for safety. Because with the mid-20s one, or the one around claiming yourself, there's a sense that if I let go of this self, who will I be? Or I might be someone I'm not, or I have a sense I'm someone else, but I don't want to be that person, so I'm this person. And so there's I'm using this hand gesture, it's quite a clinging to a idea of myself, a story. It's a real believing this story. And the next phase I've been talking about now is about letting go of that story and being just who I am now. It's not about bringing a story that I created in the past into the present. It's about letting the present be as it is and me just here now. And this is where the spiritual traditions come in. In my case, the Zen tradition, other Buddhist traditions, a number of Indian meditation traditions, there's a few Catholic meditation traditions or Christian meditation traditions that are along the same lines, Sufis. There is this becoming no one step, although I'm using the Zen words, which would be no one. Other people might describe it differently, becoming one with the universe or one with others or whatever. But that next step is so important because it lets you hold the stories that you created for yourself loosely. So I pick up this story of me and I use it where it's helpful, and I can let it go when it's not helpful. I'm not attached to using it all the time and kind of doggedly believing it. And you can also tell people who've made that transition, because they don't believe of themselves as anything in particular. They're not so attached to an idea of themselves. They're flexible in their identity. They're open to being different people at different times. They are freer in themselves. And this freedom is what sets this next group apart. And I know people in their 70s and 80s who have never had that experience. They kind of may know who they are, but they're not free of who they are. And this freedom of who they are is what creates such a beauty and such magic in the world. It's the ability to be open to the moment, open to what's right now, and create an identity or create a purpose that is relevant here, as opposed to dragging one from in the past. And this one, I don't know what's after this one. Maybe there is no answer, and that's okay. And right now I've turned 30, so I'm on this journey to discover what's next. But I'm not attached to what's next. I'm not actually looking for what's next. I'm just with things as they are. And that's not with everything. There's lots of things I'm very attached to. But I know, at least in the back of my mind or in the back of me, that it's just a story I'm creating. It's not real. And it's that real freedom from the story that is the next stage. And I've been told by others there's stages about eldership and about community giving, and those ones I still don't feel like I have a real grasp of yet, so I won't talk to those yet. But this is my current model, and I look forward to updating it in the future when there's additional things to add to it. But until then, thanks so much for watching. Love to hear your ideas, comments, feedback, and the journey continues.